What is going on, everybody? It is Friday, which means it's time for another episode of my News Radar. And in this episode, we're going to be talking about some folding phones, some rollable phones, and some nothing phones. And let's start off with probably the most interesting one to me, simply because it's actually going to exist still. Spoiler alert for something coming up a bit later. Motorola has actually now shown off the next version of the Moto Razr, the Moto Razr 2022, which is expected to launch sometime in the year 2022. Now, we had seen many leaks of this phone over the last few weeks and maybe even months, but they were all just leaks, right? They looked really legitimate, but you never know until you know. But now, Lenovo's Mobile China GM Chen Jin has actually shown the thing off. He held the thing up at some sort of an event, and these are the images. And it just so happens that these images line up pretty much perfectly with what we had already seen from some of these leaks. You can see here the cover display is very large. It's at least up to like here and maybe down to like there. It is still very large, in line with the prior rumors. Moving to the front of the device, though, you can see some really radical changes from the prior Moto Razrs to this one. Gone is that gigantic chin at the bottom. Gone is that bathtub iPhone or Pixel 3 style notch that was there before, replaced with a center-mounted hole-punch selfie camera. The bezels look to be thinner as well. And you might say, are you sure, Shane, he's not holding up a Samsung Z Flip 3? And I could see why you may think that, because the visual differentiation between the two devices, at least from this perspective, pretty much gone, right? You always knew a Razr when you saw it because of the notch, because of the chin. Now those things are gone. It's going to be a lot more difficult to tell the difference looking straight on. Is this an improvement? Is this not an improvement? What is the opposite of an improvement? Did this make it worse? You gotta tell me that in the comments down below. Now, we did also get this little 27-second long trailer, which kind of shows off some stuff in some more detail. You can see, again, the leaks were correct. We have two cameras there mounted on the front of the device, just above, or I guess below, depending on how you're holding the device, that front cover display. If we carry on in the video, you then do get a look at the hinge at the side of the device, which I actually think looks really nice. I like it. It's like a brushed aluminum type thing. I like the logo there on it as well. And you kind of get a brief look at the device here, folded halfway. Kind of hard to see much there. Get another look at those cameras, probably a wide angle and a standard. I believe the rumors are a 50 megapixel standard and then a wide angle that can double as a macro. 120 hertz display as well, as you can see on the text above. There's the back of the device with that classic Moto logo, which is cool to see. Razr at the bottom. I think that this thing, from a visual perspective, looks quite good. And there you go. There's a full look at that cover display. So you can see how large this thing is. I quite like that kind of old-timey clock look as well. Reminds me of a clock that hung on the wall of my grandma's living room. You can now have that on your phone. Now, there are also tons of rumors about the price of the Moto Razr 2022 because it is supposed to be running the Snapdragon 8 Plus Gen 1. It has a better camera, a 120 hertz display, apparently a battery that might not be nearly as big as you may want. So battery life is also a question. Price is rumored to be less than we were thinking, right? The prior Razrs were in that like $1,400, $1,300 range a lot of the time. Well, this might get closer to $1,000, which is going to be really important because the Z Flip 4 exists and it's probably going to be under $1,000, making this potentially a hard sell, in particular because, well, yeah, battery life might not be great, and the appearance from the front looks really similar to the Flip, and you could argue that the appearance from all angles now does look a little bit flippy. Even still, I'm glad to see more competition in this space. Let me know what you think about this device in the comments down below. Moving on to another interesting device that sadly will likely never see the light of day. And by likely, I mean definitely, because LG is no longer making smartphones. We had heard rumors for a really long time that LG was working on a rollable smartphone, right? You can differentiate this quite easily in your mind. This is a phone that has a folding OLED display. Well, this one, instead of folding, it actually would roll. And if you're wondering, Shane, what on earth would that look like in real life? Well, guess what? We have a leak leaked video of actual piece of hardware of this thing. And this was posted on YouTube. The original video has gone private, but luckily I still have the video. I actually downloaded it. So let's take a look at the raw video now, and then we'll talk about it.
세계 최초로 롤러블 폰 양산을 앞뒀던 LG전자에서 스마트폰 사업을 철수하면서 이 롤러블 폰이 역사 속으로 사라질 뻔했죠. 근데 최근에 이 롤러블 폰을 구매한 구매자가 이 실물 영상을 올렸습니다. 지금 보시는 영상이 바로 LG 롤러블 폰의 실물입니다.
I'm really bummed out that this thing is never going to see the light of day. We're never going to be able to buy this particular product, although Samsung is apparently making their own version of something like this. Let's go back to this video, though, and let's kind of talk about it. So from this perspective here, this looks like a relatively normal modern smartphone, a candy bar shape. It does obviously look a little bit weird because it definitely does roll over the edges, but we've seen that, right? Curved edges of screens, not a big deal. The chin and the forehead look a little odd though, right? They look like there's something going on there. Maybe the selfie cameras are embedded up there, which would lead me to believe probably not the best selfie cameras in the world because they're squeezed into a really small little area there. You can see the little line there of what's about to happen. And in this video, if we go forward, he swipes in a little sidebar reminiscent. We've seen this before. Samsung still does this. And he presses a button on the top of that bar, and then it begins to actually slide apart. And once it's actually fully slid apart, if we can go back here, it gets pretty darn wide. I think this is about as far as it goes, about like that. So you've gone from a pretty normal phone to like a pretty normal phone plus 50% extra width, which makes it a tablet in a lot of ways. It's not, I don't think it's quite as big as something like the Z Fold, but it's still a lot bigger than a standard traditional phone. And one advantage here is that because it's not folding, there's no crease, there's no line, there's no bend anywhere. The display actually just kind of rolls along. It actually rolls along and goes behind the body of the device to be hidden, and then it is motorized, so it just rolls out. I think this is a really interesting design. You get a better look at that, what I believe is the selfie area up there. I may be wrong about that, but I think that might be what's going on. It's very small if that's what it is. You can see again rolling out, and then just before that, when it first jumped to this section here, it actually rolls in. It is motorized to retract or to go out either way you want to go. We get a look at the back of the device as well, which is interesting to look at because you can see that partition. The camera modules are all on the side that actually extends out. I do want to point out the software too, though. Notice as this thing expands that the icons are all getting further and further apart in this image. But then on that one, as it retracts, they're not shrinking back together. And then as he does some other gesture or something, I don't know what he did here to extend it because he didn't pull out that sidebar, but now the icons are not getting further apart, but we are revealing additional icons down there at the bottom. The software stuff people don't often think about. There are a lot of concerns you might have about how to make this software work correctly, and there's a lot to think about here. Now, as recently as May, Samsung has shown off very, very similar products. As we roll this video forward, I've talked about this in the past, but it's worth pointing out again. Here is a prototype idea for a vertical slider. You can see here, it's a pretty short phone. She manually pulls it up higher to extend to make it a much taller phone. That is a different way to go about this. She looks over and sees this individual here who has a horizontal slider. He's pulling it out from both sides. There's lots of different ways to go about this, and Samsung has experimented with many of these. At any rate, let me know what you guys think about this in the comments down below. What do you think of LG's design? Are you bummed out that it's not going to come to fruition? Are you watching closely at what Samsung is doing? Sound off in the comments. And lastly, today, the Nothing Phone 1 is official. They held their launch event, showed the thing off, let people hold it, play around with it, and it is official. This is the Nothing Phone 1. Talked about the glyph interface on the back with these lights. You can see the battery charge level. You can use it as an LED fill light. There's a recording light there to let you know if someone is filming. It's a little red LED about right there. Dual side Gorilla Glass, which is good to see. They've got a 6.55-inch OLED display, HDR10+, 120 Hz. All of these things quite good. Of course, we have our full spec list here, which we've mentioned many of these things. 2400 by 1080 resolution, which is fine for a display that size. 240 hertz touch sampling rate is actually really nice to have. That's going to feel very, very responsive. 8 gigs of RAM, 128 memory for the standard. Sadly, no charger in the box. And a price starting off at €399. We've already done a video kind of going over the camera performance based on the samples that they have released. So we pretty much know what we need to know about this device. Reviews, I'm sure, will be coming very, very soon. There's already some hands-on videos out because of this event, so you can check those out on YouTube as well. I'm still kind of, interested in terms of that. I just think that it looks different. It looks like somebody trying to do something a little bit different, trying to buck some trends, if you will. But I mean, the fact that it's not coming to North America really did put a damper on my excitement, because it's just not something I'm going to have at that point. I'm not going to import this thing and then hope that it works well on my carrier. But I'm sure lots of people are going to do exactly that. Let me know what you think about the Nothing Phone 1 in those comments as well. Guys, I will see you on the next one. Thanks for watching. Huge thanks to my YouTube members, which will be scrolling across the screen now. You make these videos possible. I will see you on the next one. And until next time, stay nerdy, my friends.